Did you know that you're known as the Master?
Really? I can't believe it.
That's your nickname in the business.
Well, what can I say to that?
I want to look at this lovely record cover. I've never seen this version of it.
No.
Of course, this is my dad. There's Raymond Keenlyside, Margaret Major, Derek Simpson, and Kenneth Essex.
That's right.
So I've known Ken for 66 years. My first memories of Ken at many parties we've had at our house, and also of him performing with the quartet my father led. So the freelance scene in those days, I mean, you've had a very long career in the freelance scene. How different do you think it was then?
Without a doubt, the 60 years that I was playing, they were the golden years of the business, right across. Because, I mean, we just did everything. We were working 7 days a week. There was a lot of broadcasting. We did films, we did television, and we did radio. But, I mean, it doesn't exist anymore. And from what I can gather, when I was in symphony orchestras, we had a few laughs. But I don't know what it's like these days.
Well, we managed some. Maybe we can't talk about those on camera.
You managed some. Well, that picture was taken on a session with Mancini, asking him about a wrong note. While Mancini was over here, we did that session, but he also conducted a concert on barges on the Thames for the children in need.
Really?
And we did William Tell, and we all went on board these barges to do William Tell, and we sat down and he looked down at me and he said, "Any wrong notes yet?" I think it's safe to say that almost every conductor has his own individuality,
yes.
You know.
Yes.
I mean, all the great conductors are all different. One conductor that I didn't particularly enjoy working for was Carry-On. I somehow never really liked his attitude, or even the way he looked when he was there was a certain arrogance about that man that I just couldn't get over.
And now this lovely cartoon, could you tell us about that?
Well, that appeared in The Scotsman while I was up at the Edinburgh Festival with the Aeolians, and he obviously came along to one of our rehearsals and he drew that.
You seem to be playing very fast.
That's right.
I know, you can't get your bow on the string.
I'm thrashing it. There are 2 or 3 concerts that I do remember extremely well. One of them was with Cantelli. I mean, he was a very intense young man. He was just unbelievable. And we started the Albert Hall concert with La Valse. And I can remember as the last note died away, he sort of collapsed, you know, against the rail at the back of the rostrum. He was absolutely whacked for a minute and he had to pull himself together to carry on. I mean, to wear yourself out just doing La Valse, you've got to use a lot of energy.
Yes. Coming more up to date, of course, you've done huge amount of important viola scores.
Well, I think one of the best things that happened for me was meeting Carl Davis, because Carl immediately took a liking to the viola. And I can remember ever so well, the first time I was booked, David Katz was his fixer, and we turned up for a session at 10 o'clock one morning at the old CTS. And I got there about 20 minutes early, and Carl Davis, who I'd never met, was already there, standing by his rostrum. And as I passed him, he looked at me and he said, "Good morning, Star." So I thought, what does it mean, good morning, Star? So I went up to the first desk and put my viola down and opened the score. And I realised it was absolutely bristling with viola solos. I mean, that was really making history.
Yes, yes. And then you did Last of the Summer Wine.
Oh yes.
That was a good one for you.
32 years of that. It was being sold all over the world. Zimbabwe, you name it.
Going back, it's the same with Fawlty Towers. That's sold all over the world.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was a huge thing.
Well, when videotapes came out for the general public, and all that series went onto video, they sold like hotcakes. I remember we got an enormous check for the first batch of sales of videos all over the country. Yes, I happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Well, that's right, because, I mean, what happened with the industry is that when they realised that musicians were getting paid royalties and doing rather well out of it, they decided to stop doing it and just pay you a bit more to buy all your rights.
That's right, buyouts as they were called.
Buyouts.
Rates have always been good for sessions.
Yes.
I remember the first sessions that the quartet did after the war. In those days, a session was £3. When the quartet did the recording that backed the Beatles, Yesterday, I remember we were only booked by George Martin for a half session. We got 5 guineas for that for a half session. And it was a worldwide bestseller. It's a pity we didn't get any royalties.
It's a very romantic one.
That was a publicity photograph we had taken. The one at the back, it had been in some sort of exhibition because it's got drawing pin holes.
Not dart holes. Tell us something about your own viola.
I got it in about 1952, and I sold it about four or 5 years ago. There was a dealer named Mr. Dyke, or Mr. Dykes, St. Giles Circus, and he said, I had a very interesting viola of the Brescian school, and he trotted out this viola. It had no A string. It was an old copper-covered C string that was red with damp. The peg box was mouldy, and I tuned the other 3 strings up and played it as best I could. And of course, I took it along and started playing it with the quartet. And Manny said to me, he said, if I were you, I'd get back to Mr. Dykes and see how much he wants for that viola. So I went down to see Mr. Dyke and took my checkbook with me and the viola. And I said, I've decided to have the viola. We're very pleased with it and the quartet like it. How much is it? And he said, well, because of the worm damage, I feel I've got to keep the price down. I'll let you have it for £70. Well, I wrote that cheque out as quickly as I possibly could before he changed his mind. And he said, before you go, could you play a few notes for me? So I said, yes. So I took it out and played it for a minute or so. And he said, I don't think I charged you enough. I mean, I can't tell you what that instrument had. It wasn't nice, it was bloody wonderful.